Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Walk of Honour plaque unveiling. My name's Phil Pinion. I'm the General Manager with Wagga Wagga City Council, and it's a great occasion and lovely to have all of you here this afternoon. I'd like to recognise our Mayor, Councillor Wayne Geale, who will address you in a minute, and we have a number of councillors here as well, and we have Councillor Pascoe, Councillor Goodless, Councillor Braid and Councillor Uden. And I see we have our Federal Member of Parliament, Mr McCormack, who's just arrived as well. So welcome to you all, and welcome to all of the other official guests and dignitaries. This is an opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate the contribution of Bill Kerr to Wagga Wagga, and it's a really great accomplishment and something that I'm sure Bill will be particularly proud of, who can't be here today, but he's well represented with Dr Neil Overton. So I'd now like just to introduce to you the Mayor of Wagga Wagga City Council, Councillor Wayne Geale.
Thanks, Phil. General Manager of Wagga Wagga City Council, members of the Australia Day Committee, family and friends of Bill Kerr, my fellow councillors, Michael McCormack, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first begin by acknowledging that we are meeting in Wiradjuri country and recognise that the Wiradjuri people are the original custodians of this land, and I pay respect to elders both past and present. Thank you to everyone who's come along to honour our 2011 Walk of Honour recipient, Mr Bill Kerr. As Mayor of the City of Wagga Wagga, it gives me great pleasure to be here today to unveil this plaque. The Walk of Honour is a venture which aims to acknowledge the very special people of our community for their outstanding contributions. And this accolade couldn't go to a worthy recipient and a great man and the boy from Wagga Wagga, Bill Kerr. The plaque you are about to see forms part of Council's Australia Day Awards, confirming Council's belief in the importance of recognising those members of our community who have given so much of themselves to our city. This year, the City of Wagga Wagga honours someone who has made a significant contribution to the community via his contribution to the performing arts. Bill Kerr was born on 10 June 1922 in Cape Town, South Africa, and spent his first 20 years in Wagga Wagga, where he developed his skills as an actor in musical theatre, revues, eisteddfods, and working on local radio. In 1934, he starred in one of Australia's earliest talking films, The Silence of Dean Maitland. As an adolescent, Bill worked at 2WG as a radio announcer from 39 to 41. Not sure if Yvonne was there then or not. After serving in World War II, Bill went to England to further his acting career and worked for the BBC Radio, where, through his affectionate mockery, Wagga Wagga became famous throughout Britain. From his high-pitched ocker voice, I've just arrived from Wagga Wagga, I've only got 4 minutes, through his more recognisable all-purpose Australian identity to his serious voice of gloom, Australian characters, Bill Kerr has represented his country and Wagga Wagga to the world. While in Britain, Bill went on to star in many blockbuster movies throughout the 50s and 60s, such as Appointment in London, 1952, and The Dam Busters in 1954. He also played a role in the first Goons film, Penny Points to Paradise in 1951, which sustained his long association with Spike Milligan into a role in the play The Bed Sitting Room in 1963. In 1967, he appeared in the second series of Doctor Who. He returned to Australia in 1979 and became a leading figure in the Australian film renaissance of the 1980s, with key roles in Gallipoli, 1981, The Year of Living Dangerously, 1982, Dusty, 1983, and Razorback in 1984. Bill has also had supporting roles in Anzacs and The Coca-Cola Kid, both 1985. Although he now lives in Perth, Bill's successes have been significantly tied to Wagga Wagga, whose reputation has been promoted, enriched and delighted both in Australia and internationally. Bill Kerr is the 27th inductee in the Walk of Honour and will join other individuals who have already been honoured with installation of metal plaques along the pavement in Baylis Street. Through this Walk of Honour plaque, Bill has become an internal part of Wagga Wagga's history and memory, and will always be looked upon and up to and admired as a man who pursued what he loved in life and through his passion found great success. And this morning I received this email which says, "Thank you for your invitation to attend Bill Kerr's Walk of Honour. Unfortunately it was sent to my old address. Sadly, I was unable to attend as I am leaving for overseas on the very next day and wouldn't be able to be back in time to catch up the plane. I have such great respect and affection for Bill Kerr, an old and dear friend and a fine actor. Please pass on my warmest regards to him and the people there today, and my regrets for not being able to share this single honour which your city is bestowing on him. Stuart Wagstaff." So it says a lot of that. I'm proud to be with you today to unveil this plaque for the one and only Bill Kerr. And now it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Dr. Neil Overton to say a few words. Thanks, Neil.
Hello, I won't talk for too long. I thought we might all end up with frozen spondulics, judging from the weather yesterday. And those of you who are already suffering from frozen spondulics will know exactly what I mean. The historic council chambers, the Museum of the Riverina, Victory Gardens, the old 2WG radio station building, and Bill Kerr. What we've done here is make a signpost of all that Wagga was. Like all signposts, it points away from the past towards an unexplored creative future. So, a few more details about Bill Kerr, the story so far of the devil in red socks. I might overlap some of the things that Wayne said. After World War II, Bill Kerr gained fame in variety theatre in Britain as a stand-up comic. He appeared at the Windmill Theatre and at the Camberwell Palace Theatre in November 1947. His opening line was always, "I'm only here for 4 minutes." And for a performer who was only going to be here for 4 minutes, he's been around for an awfully long time. He's 88 years old now and is living in Perth. His enduring fame rests on his radio work for the BBC in Britain, initially on Variety Bandbox in the late 1940s, and then in Hancock's Half Hour from 1954 to 1960 with Tony Hancock and Sid James. He appeared as a dramatic actor in notable British films then, including The Dam Busters, 1954, where he played the Australian pilot Mickey Martin. But Bill Kerr's career began here in Wagga Wagga, where he lived for the first 20 years of his life. It began as a child of 8 at the floating pontoon of Dixieland Dance Hall, which sat couched in the coal-black Murrumbidgee, garlanded in willows down near where the Riverine Club is today. Dance hall jazz music played out through the night in the late 1920s and 1930s. Strings of Chinese paper lanterns lit up the shadows of drooping trees, and crisp silhouettes of tuxedos and brass bands on the decking. Bill sang and danced there as a boy, with his mother playing piano, and he went on to become a child star in musical theatre, revues, eisteddfods, and early major film roles in Australian films, including Harmony Row with George Wallace, then The Silence of Dean Maitland in 1934, directed by the legendary Ken G. Hall. In his teens, he worked as a radio announcer in that very 2WG building on the corner by the bridge over the Wallundry Lagoon. As a lad of 17. So he worked there from 1939 to 41 before enlisting in the army. After the war, when he first appeared on the radio program Variety Bandbox in Britain, the announcer Philip Slessor introduced him as the boy from Wagga Wagga. It was an appellation that stuck with the press, and they continued to refer to him by that ever since. To post-war Britain, Wagga Wagga sounded like a strange, otherworldly, made-up, imagined place, right about where we are now. The boy from Wagga Wagga put this city on the international map, at least across the Commonwealth, on the airwaves of the radio. He returned to Australia in 1979 and has been a significant, iconic film presence here ever since. Bill Kerr's fondness for the city of his youth is undiminished. It will always be the storehouse of his childhood and every thought of his mother and father's lives here. Our memories of Bill Kerr are equally undimmed. I am grateful that Wagga Wagga has recognised through this Walk of Honour award both Bill Kerr and the performing arts that have emanated from this city. In Bob Dylan's first album, he said, "Here's to the hands and the hearts of the men who come with the night and are gone with the wind." Well, here's to Bill Kerr, the last man standing of his generation of post-war radio and theatre performers who went from Australia to Britain. Here's to his distinctive voice on the wind. We will not hear "It's Like" again.
Thank you, Neil. I'd now like to call upon the Mayor and Dr. Overton to unveil the plaque. I'd also like to ask the Mayor to present to Dr. Overton the framed replica of the plaque, and that'll be sent over to Bill in Perth, along with a photo book of today's ceremony. Thank you. That concludes the official part of our ceremony, so thank you very much for attending, and I'd like to invite you all to come across to the council meeting room for afternoon tea, and we're also going to make a call through to Bill in Perth, so if you'd like to participate in that, you're most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Councillor Geale.
So just a couple more. Neil, you picked out a spot. How can we get down this close?